Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We are live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff and Tam Cowan are here with me today. Delighted to have their company. We are going to be talking League Cup. We'll be talking League Griffiths as well. Never too far away from controversy. And we'll look at some of the Carabao Cup results from down south in England. So lots to talk about, and in the company of Tam. Hopefully we'll have a jovial hour, because I felt just before we come on air there, Tam, Ruffy was a wee bit down. We're 10 years together on this show, and surely there's another 10 years in us.
And I think the way Ruffy was talking before we came on here, you need to start looking for a replacement, because you've started noticing, would you say, you started noticing all these adverts for crematoriums on the telly?
Yes, on the telly, paying up and that, you know, and get yourself organised.
And even though you look magnificent you'll be 70 in a matter of weeks, you're feeling the worst.
No, just a wee head cold, but I have to thank my National Health, for helping me out with a wee antibiotic, which has made me a lot better than what I was yesterday.
Right, yeah, absolutely. But you still came to work yesterday.
Yes, I came. I just don't want to let anybody down. That's just me, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's one for the viewers right away. They can get in touch if he does die next week, let's say, right? Who do you bring in as his replacement if it had to be a goalie? Any goalie.
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
Who would you replace Ruffy with?
That is a...
Look at him, he's looking at magic. I look like that when I'm 70.
You play tennis, you're playing golf, you're in the bowls, you've won the bowls championship. Yes. You're getting a wee bit morbid,
That's the clean version. Sure, there was a fifth one there.
I'm sure keeping active, as everybody will know, keeping active has something to do with it. So let's hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a great shout, Tam. Do you know what I love about you? You automatically...
I know there's one goalie who'll know one.
He automatically kicks into his kind of a BBC mode, doesn't he? And competition kicks in and get everybody going. I love it.
I would bring in the Livingston goalie for last night. Guaranteed laughter.
We're going to talk about that, because I have to say, Ruffy, honestly, the Livingston goalkeeper at Strike, he pulls off, save after save against Celtic, and then he has an absolute howler against Rangers. Yeah. I'm not into conspiracies, by the way. You can have a howler.
Yeah, of course you can. And that's when you're a goalkeeper. You have to expect that you can be top of the world, and the next minute you make a mistake. He did the same against Motherwell, wasn't it? He was fantastic. In the last minute, he just sort of fumbled one. So he's got that in his makeup. But some of the saves he was having in the beginning were outstanding, and I'm sure he'll be upset that he lost the second one. But I don't think it mattered anything to the game. Rangers were so far on top. Did you see their Livingston stats?
Yep. Yeah. Depressing.
No corners, no shots on target, no shots on goal.
Yeah, you think, Peter,
for 90 minutes.
I know there wasn't a big Livingston support there. There might have been a lot more of them watching at home on Premier Sports, but I just think that's outrageous. It's a cup tie. It was a cup quarter final, and again, as a lot of clubs didn't need reminding, maybe even Aberdeen, we spoke about it in the show, who dropped players, rested players, whatever you want to call it, for their game with Raith and get their backsides felt. The League Cup is the sort of trophy that Aberdeen have maybe only got a chance of winning, and certainly with Livingston. When they see what St Johnstone did with the Cup double last year, Livy should be really going for that. But to just go there and sit back, and as Ruffy says, not even get a corner kick. I think if I was a Livy fan, you'd be absolutely raging. And yet when you reverse it, okay, I know Celtic had all the possession in the game that Livy won at the weekend, but I don't know. There's something, we brought this actually up on the radio last week. There's a gig there for a really good psychologist about what happens to players' heads when you're either home or away. If you're at home, if Livy last night had been at home to Rangers, I guarantee they'd have at least got a corner, they'd at least got a shot on target, a shot off target, whatever. But there's something in players' heads that the minute they go away, it might be, look at this stadium here, we're not meant to win here. There's Rangers running out in their famous jerseys, dearie me, there's something that happens. And I just think it's no fair on the fans. That was terrible for the Livy fans last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happens. The buck stops with the manager sets the stall out.
Yeah, he sets his stall out. Obviously, it worked against Celtic. It worked. They all battled for each other. They all got behind the ball, and that would have been the main thing. Don't lose an early goal. They did for 45 minutes. They were pretty solid, but not creating at all. But at the end of the day, and I said this with Celtic at Livingston, if you've got 25 chances at goal, at some time it's going to hit the back of the net.
Aye.
It never happened for Celtic last week. That's part and parcel of the game. But Rangers last night, so much dominance, so much attacking, so many chances. Somebody's going to hit the back of the net, and then once you hit the back of the net, then you've got to commit. Then you've got to get something at a cup tie.
Aye.
And it just so happened to got the second goal, and that was it, done and dusted.
And you're right. The minute Rangers get the first one, that was it. You could have blown the whistle. It was over.
Good, impressive stats though, Tam, for Kemar Roofe. I mean, he's got 23 goals and 30 starts for Rangers. He's one of those guys that, apart from scoring that spectacular goal in Europe for Rangers, which rightly got all the plaudits, I don't think he's as high profile, maybe getting the credit he deserves.
No, I disagree. I thought he was high profile against Motherwell when he clearly fouled Tony Watt inside the box, and the referee Stephen McLean bluntly refused to award us a penalty.
Yeah.
So
Ruffy's chip on your shoulder, by the way.
He was not. I think he has been more than decent. I still remember, I always like my JFK moments. I still remember precisely what pub I was in that night when he did score the perler for his own half. Can't beat seeing stuff like that. But very good player, and I'm sure the Rangers fans will be delighted as well. That's Glenn Kamara signed up as well.
Yeah.
And so that if he does move, as a lot of folk think, then at least there's looking a wee bit of Kerching at the end of it.
Yeah, and Gary McAllister, speaking after the game, mentioned that there was a lot of positives to take from the game. One in particular, this is what he had to say. Come the end of the game, we got what we were looking for, but in the first half it was a repeat of the weekend. Speaking to the players at half-time, we were a wee bit wasteful in the final third. The manager made a change at half-time and it paid dividends. We lacked a bit of quality, and Jankos Hadji brought that. His cross for Roofe for the goal. The left foot, right foot, he's got that ability, he's got that skill.
Yeah, he's a wee bit special, and that's why they brought him there. You know, you could see it in him. You can see it in his makeup when he's playing well. He's full of confidence, and he has got that wee trick or two. And certainly the manager knows that. He was probably saving him. He'd just come back from quarantine for a wee while there. So he probably just knew he was going to come on at some time, but I think he'll be a starter at the weekend.
And as much as I love Gary McAllister, great young kid at Motherwell, got a fair bit of money from when he went to Leicester.
Yeah.
Went to the same school as me, of course, right here in Motherwell, Peter. But I need to disagree with him when he says that last night was a repeat of the Motherwell game at the weekend, because last night Rangers didn't get a goal that was a good yard offside.
Yeah.
So he's wrong there.
Yeah.
You want that, rub that chip again?
Your other shoulder. That's
Aye.
fantastic, brilliant. It's always good for a noise up. It takes the heat off me. But to be fair, Livingston were no opposition last night. Livingston are going down. I mean, I said it at the start of the season. I've seen nothing from them.
Where does this bitterness come from?
Well, I've seen nothing from. No, you can only judge. You watch the games. I mean, last season, Tam, you're talking about people paying good money for season tickets, and I'm not even talking about this season. First of all, and I make no bones about this, whether it's Celtic can't score goals or any other club going to it, when we look at all the things that are a nightmare in our league,
Yep.
that AstroTurf Park is a nonsense. That's the first thing. Secondary to that, last season, you're asking Livingston fans to buy season tickets. It was a hard watch. And by the way, David Martindale rightly got a lot of, he got manager of the month at certain points in the season. He got a lot of praise because, Livingston stayed in the division, but it's hard to watch.
I know. I think you need to have the definitive survey, if you like, into the plastic pitches. There now only is one at the Tony Macaroni Arena, and that is the only pitch that is there. The general consensus is that the players don't like it, fans don't like watching it. But I don't know if anybody has actually asked the players. Can you not just go through to every registered player in the top flight in Scotland and say a plastic pitch, yay or nay? And then just base it in that. Because it's the players that you're talking about, it's the players if there's any likelihood of injury, it's the players who are trying to perform on it. These guys are professional athletes. But I don't know if anybody's actually asked them. We're only hearing wee bits here and there, somebody saying, "No, I don't like Ark, it's not as bad as other ones. No, that one's rubbish, da 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 da." The only thing I'd say as well, Peter, is, and you did mention last season there when COVID and there was no much money coming into the clubs. We're never always entirely sure, and this can be a big thing, about how much revenue is generated by a plastic pitch elsewhere in the week. You know what I mean? I don't know what else, if any, Livingston bring in that means that it would be silly, absolutely stupid to get rid of the plastic pitch.
No, that's an irrelevance. It's an irrelevance. If you want to play it in the top flight in Scotland, you play in a grass pitch. Your pitch was a nightmare, but you had to spend money,
fortune on it,
fortune, and you also had a groundsman who worked hard at it.
And well, I must say, well done to Paul and his team at Fir Park, but I would argue it might be the best playing surface in Scotland. So it just shows you what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So
there's a question: who used to, in your era, playing? What was a club that always used to win the best pitch every year? And they reckoned it might have had a wee bit to do with the salt air, down the Ayrshire kind of way.
Oh, it'd be Kilmarnock or Ayr then, wouldn't it?
I think it was Kilmarnock used to always win it.
yeah.
But I think most of the top teams, the Aberdeens and the Hibs and the Hearts, were always good quality pitches, you know. And we spoke about it. The Dundee United was always a bit of a mess at the end of the season. It used to be like sanding, and your part as well used to get stick as well. I remember your part, you had a groundsman had an Alsatian. And
is that with Andy Russell?
Aye, he had
an Alsatian,
and she ran out the dugout. He didn't let anybody on the park, and he had a big sign up: "Keep off the park." And just to back up the keep off the park, this Alsatian sitting beside him, snarling at everybody that come out. And you go, "Oh, I'm not going on the park." "No, you going on. You let that dog go."
Oh, he was a legend. To the point that I would credit him. I mean, this sounds like a touch apocryphal, but it was meant to have been Andy Russell, who back in the 70s, one night, Jockstein, the late great Jockstein, brought his Celtic team, very, very decent team, to Fir Park, and he said to him, "Oh, wee man, what's the pitch like tonight?" And he was meant to have said, "Good enough for the shite that's going on it." And I've heard that story many a time since, but I do think any Motherwell fans of a more mature age could maybe confirm that. I'm sure it was wee Andy Russell that said that to Jockstein.
Yeah, I think we've all fallen foul of it now, haven't we? Anyway, one other thing concerning Rangers, and they released a statement regarding this cinch story that materialised yesterday, of course. There was one of the lawyers highlighted the fact that Rangers were in negotiations or discussions, call it what you will. Let's be not splitting hairs on this. They were talking to Cinch about renaming Ibrox. It didn't materialise. Cinch became the sponsors of the league. This is what the statement had to say regarding this whole thing. It's just basically that Cinch approached Rangers to discuss commercial opportunities in early 2021. Rangers provided information on what opportunities might become available. At no point did Cinch offer any terms to Rangers. Contrary to the SPFL's claims, no negotiations took place. Okay,
it's
listen.
words. We're messing with words now. Every time we get the lawyers,
here.
you know, it's a discussion or a, you know, they were talking to them, and quite rightly so. They can talk to them if they want, but don't deny it. I mean, we're not daft, you know. If somebody was on the phone to you must have been discussing a lot of things of the naming and maybe other sponsorship. But it's just deludes.
You know what, Peter? I would sooner move it on a bit, and I'd say right away, right now, it's never the changing the name of a stadium in Scotland. The fans are never going to let it happen at Ibrox or Celtic Park, right? In terms of the bragging rights across the city. No, but the bragging rights, they would need to almost do it when they used to enter into deals together, like C.R. Smith and perhaps tenants. It would need to have been a joint thing, right?
You think it'll never?
It would. Well, I know, but what I'm going to say is I would bite the hand off you at Motherwell. See if we were talking serious, though, because it doesn't matter who came in, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Jaguar, however, the Jaguar Fir Park Stadium, the Fir Park Pepsi Max Stadium, I would say, let's see the colour of your money. We pump that into the club, pump that into the team, and there's immediately a bond between all fans and everybody at the club that you would never even repeat that name. It would always just still be Fir Park, you know what I mean? So I would love it to happen at Motherwell. And it was this discussion came up a few years ago. I think it might have been an April Fool gag or something on Real Radio.
Yeah.
Right, if you recall Real Radio. Yes, Ruffy. And I think it was something like that, and they chose Motherwell as a team that they were going to be named after. I can't mind too. But when you took away the joke element of it, I thought, bring it on. Absolutely bring it on. If we can get the money in there, and only if it is serious money. We're not talking about them being sponsored by, you know, Mark Antonio's chippy at Motherwell Crosser, and you know what I mean? As much as it is a good chippy. But, you know, if you were talking one of the big players, the way they've done in England, of course, and they pump absolute multi-millions in, then grab it, it's only a name.
I disagree with you on the Rangers and Celtic never selling the rights to it, because those two would definitely sell the rights to it. Unless somebody turns around and says that a lot, Ibrox and Celtic Park are sacrosanct, I don't believe it. In this game, they would gleefully take that sort of money, as Tam says.
Hit it in the head. If it was megabucks,
yeah,
they'll sit and have a look at it, because everybody needs megabucks, and it will still be called Parkhead, and it will still be called Ibrox, so there'll be a name above one of the stands, but there's names above all the stands just now.
Well, they tried it with
David
Newcastle.
Cooper or it's
Tried it with
whatever,
the Sports Direct at Newcastle. Nobody cares. St James's Park. You're right.
Exactly. Take the money.
Yeah. Would you take it at Firhill?
I think we have, already.
Yeah. What is
We're
it?
in the process, obviously, negotiating with somebody to name the main stand.
Oh, is that right? The main stand of the stadium?
The main stand. The main stand is the Colin Weir stand just now.
Right, and you're changing it to
No, we'll just move that along a bit and take the money off.
Oh, poor old Colin.
No, Colin.
That's terrible.
Colin will be there forever.
Yeah,
Colin will be there forever.
Yeah, but unfortunately, what is it? Liverpool. No, it's negotiating. He's giving us a wee snifter of it. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Right,
it's a well-known toilet company.
Right, okay then. So,
as well, you tell them the couple of years that we were asking for them, all right?
Shanks Armitage.
Yeah. So good luck with that, Ruffy. They'll be all over it now.
Colin Weir?
Well, you used to work at STV.
I met him at a game before. Lovely, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
See, all the folk that you would actually want to win, it was mega millions he won, wasn't it, in the lottery? He's the sort of guy you would want, you know what I mean? That's and good on him for what he did with the money at Thistle, absolutely tremendous.
He did it everywhere, Tom. Largs, Thistle, community stuff, and he was still doing it. His foundation was still doing it, and is still doing it to certain charities out there.
Yeah, good on him.
As much as old Brooks Milson, you recall old Brooks down there at Gretna, as much as he maybe didn't have quite so many fans, I would say, and they end up as somebody like Colin Weir. I remember even him writing us a cheque live on air in Radio Scotland. The first time we had him on as a guest, he was just coming to the fore. Gretna were coming up through the ranks, and we'd heard all this stuff about him, the big philanthropist, and he was giving this club a wee bit of money, that club. And I'd say just half jokingly, I said, "Hey, you've not given Motherwell anything, you know." And he actually took the chequebook out of his pocket, wrote out a wee cheque for £5,000, and gave it to me to take out of the club, you know.
Wow.
And tasty.
Yeah. And Motherwell will be checking to see where that cheque is now and if it was signed over. Anyway, apart from anything else, I think they would. Do you think your team would be happy to take the money? Would you be happy to rename your stadium? You can give us your view on that as well.
Has it kept? I mean, you think how many names we're talking about Livingston there? How many names they've had? You know, every penny's a prisoner.
Absolutely.
Take the money if it's there.
But it goes back to my original point on it, which is quite simply, Livingston are poor, didn't put up any real resilience to Rangers. Rangers well worthy of going into the semi-final draw, which takes place after the two games tonight. Dundee 0, St Johnstone 2. I thought St Johnstone would see off Dundee comfortably. They did. Ali Crawford is a good player. I like Ali as a boy as well. Scored a nice goal in the game.
Yeah, in the first half, I think James McPake will be scratching his head. They had a lot of chances. Xander Clark again, top man of the match in the first half, and we've spoken about it on numerous occasions. Goalkeepers who keep their teams in the game, and if they end up winning, it's fantastic. But that's no goals in 4, 5?
Haven't scored in the last 4 games in all competitions.
Yeah.
And I think 15 years since they last got to a semi-final. I don't know what it is, Ruffy. I didn't see anything, you know, at the moment until maybe Griffiths starts to get up to a bit of pace and helped, aided and abetted by your man coming.
Certainly got goals.
You're certainly ruining the podcast, Ruffy. That's
talk to Tam for a minute.
Yeah, because what, are you just going to cough while I talk to Tam? You're going to have a drink.
It astounds me, and you know, I've almost got like a dog in the race here because of my co-presenter on the radio, but you know, folks still seem surprised by what St Johnstone are doing, and in fact there's this new buzz phrase that's been doing the rounds, Peter, ever since they beat Aberdeen at the weekend, and the phrase being teams like St Johnstone. Apparently there was a lot of Aberdeen fans, a bit of a backlash when they lost to St Johnstone. Stevie May scoring the win at the weekend, and Aberdeen fans apparently were just rather glibly saying we should be beating teams like St Johnstone. Yeah. But when you tot it all up, you look at where Aberdeen were once upon a time, and you look where they are now, and ditto with St Johnstone, but their fortunes have obviously been in reverse, if you like, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me what St Johnstone are doing, and I thought last night...
They've only won one league cup.
Exactly.
St Johnstone have won 3
There
trophies.
you go, and that's St Johnstone back at Hampden again.
St Johnstone should be beating teams like Aberdeen.
Teams like Aberdeen, you could flip the whole thing. You're absolutely right. But no, I thought they were worthy winners last night. And what I loved about it, I loved Callum Davidson speaking after the game, and it seemed that the thing that he wanted to emphasise is that how great he feels at getting back to Hampden this time with fans, because what a huge loss that was for you know, all these St Johnstone fans who had waited all that time to see. I know they got the Scottish Cup a number of years ago, but to do the double when your fans couldn't go to cheer on your favourites, that's heartbreaking stuff, you know. So it'll be good that they get back. And what I think that would rule it, if for a matter of talking, it was, let's say, depending on what happens tonight, let's say it was St Johnstone, Dundee United, or St Johnstone Hibs in a semi, you might get the odd call about, well, play it somewhere else or whatever. But I think they'll be desperate to get that at Hampden. Yeah,
absolutely. So Dundee problems continue. Is he under pressure? No,
I don't think so. But Dundee have made some strange decisions over the last 4 or 5 years with their managers.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like James, but I hope he can turn it around. It needs Charlie Adam back in the side. That's a Stonewall certainty. It needs Griffiths scoring goals and certainly not firing flares with his left foot into the crowd. And I don't know about you, Tam, but
it's welcome again to Scottish football.
Well,
you know, MD.
Honestly, but the boy, I mean, first of all, let's condemn the St Johnstone fans, for God's sake.
Well, we're talking about
for the whole
statements.
story about it. I mean, the stuff that they were shouting to him is bang out of order. But to be fair, he should.
It was always going to happen.
He should know better.
It was always going to happen, and he must have known it was going to happen. That's not to say that the St Johnstone fans are blameless. But we'll keep it light. I'll just try to keep it light by saying the funny side of it was that when Lee Griffiths said he only meant just to kick it off the park.
Yeah,
he didn't mean to put it in there. Lee Griffiths is forgetting the pinpoint accuracy with which he put those 2 free kicks past England. Do you know what I mean? If Lee Griffiths had seen one person in particular in the St Johnstone end that he wanted to pick him out, he would have done it. So that was quite a tame kind of excuse for Lee Griffiths. But already, I mean, that's him. He's only been up there a matter of a few weeks, and he's kind of, in that respect, with the headlines, raised his head above the parapet. I was really hoping, as a big fan of Lee Griffiths, the footballer, I was hoping he could have gone up there, reinvented himself and kept his head down otherwise, but boom.
Yeah. Well, he did come out with a statement quickly after it as well. This is what he had to say regarding the whole incident. Dundee and Lee Griffiths would like to address a regrettable incident which occurred during last night's Premier Sports Cup tie with St Johnstone. Following the opening goal, a smoke generator, amongst other items, was thrown onto the park by the visiting supporters. This pyrotechnic ended up back in the stand as Lee kicked it to remove it from the field of play. Lee Griffiths said, "It was regrettable that the pyrotechnic ended up back in the stand, as my intention was just to remove it from the pitch. Having just lost the goal, I was eager to get the match restarted as quickly as possible, and I would like to apologise for my distress caused by this action," which is fair enough. Listen, move on.
Move on.
I am not on the same page regarding the football. I think people are living, in a distant past with Lee. I think Lee has got, if he's 30 now, he's got a few years to try and at least make some kind of positive impact at the tail end of his career, because I think he's wasted his talent and he's done nothing for Celtic over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I remember seeing the photograph of him during the Euros, sitting in the terrace and watching it, and I thought that would be the sort of a light that would say to him, I could be out there. I should be out there. I'm going to prove everybody I can do it, and I was hoping that that's what he would do. Yep,
absolutely. Okay, there's a couple of ties to look forward to tonight in the Premier Sports Cup as well, and of course we might run a competition. We could give away a T-shirt. How long will Ruffy last?
How long will Ruffy go?
Will Ruffy see his 70th birthday?
To win a Partick Thistle shroud. How long do you think Ruffy's got left?
Well, before that...
Where should the ashes be sprinkled on the park?
Exactly. The other thing about it, Sam, is, I mean, he's getting to a certain age, yeah, but not close to the age where you are paying tickets to go and see Engelbert Humperdinck.
Absolutely, old Engelbert. I've got
I saw that.
been held off a couple of years. He's up, I think, Aberdeen and Dunfermline in November. And there's a lot of folks saying to me and emailing me, and you going? I take it you're going. But no, because from 3 years, 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I get tickets to go and see him at the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow, and that kept getting moved and moved and moved. So he's at the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow in April next year, by which time he'll be 86.
Wow.
86, and we'll be sitting there like that, because I love his music. He's got a great voice and all that, but I'm hoping he still get a wee bit in there in reserve.
Tell me you've not got tickets for Steps.
For Steps?
Steps are up next month. No, that's all right. No.
No, I mean, the good thing is that if they were up next month, Tam and I wouldn't be able to see them, because you've coughed that much in this condensed new studio that we're going to be off for a couple of weeks as well. Celtic against Raith Rovers. Listen, Ange Postecoglou, after the disappointment of the weekend loss to Livingston, says it's time that his side imposed themselves on the championship outfit.
Cup games are a little bit different, I guess, to league games. With both teams aware that everything hinges on that day, and so we're expecting a tough game. We're expecting an opponent who will be determined to try and stop us, and our job is to make sure that, particularly at home, we kind of impose ourselves on them and try and create, an atmosphere and I guess a football environment that makes it difficult for them.
Well, Raith Rovers, to their credit, Ruffy, are a good footballing side, so this could be an interesting one tonight. Well worth watching.
Yeah, it's a wee test again for Celtic, but you would expect that Celtic at home, with the players they've got, should beat a championship side. I think he's running out of, this is a team in progress. Got to win these games. He won't get away with it continuously. So good performance, good to go out there, win convincingly, and certain players start producing the goods, and that's what we'll be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, listen, you couldn't rule out, this is the perfect time, I think, for Raith Rovers to say, have a go,
Absolutely. Celtic will be jittery of that, there's no doubt. You think that even if Celtic had been thinking, as they ordinarily may have, of resting maybe a couple of players, I think could even take the chance the way they're playing just now, and where they should maybe think, they should be, because they might focus on maybe the league now. When you see what Celtic are sitting sixth or something currently, I know that's a bit over dramatic. It's early days and there's no much in it. But even then, that just strikes me as not the sort of game that Celtic want tonight. But it's the sort of game that the Raith Rovers fans want. Raith Rovers, of course, great history with Celtic in this very competition.
Yes.
When it was the Coca-Cola Cup, there was a game, the final, that Raith Rovers fans will never forget. But I just think it's awful that no Raith Rovers fans are getting into that game tonight. They're saying again because of the COVID stuff and a COVID red area and all that. But there is no way, Peter. I mean, we had a wee bet on to do with numbers that we can come back to in just a minute.
Yeah.
But I would bet you there's not going to be 60,000 inside Celtic Park tonight, or anything close to that, even half of that would mean that you couldn't find room for Raith Rovers fans who this game, this occasion tonight, it's a big thing. If you're a die-hard Raith Rovers fan, I just think it's awful that they've now just got to watch it on the telly. Celtic should have fixed that.
Yeah, Tam, I'm not even going to try and put up any sort of argument. You're absolutely right. It's a nonsense. But then again,
do you remember our numerical bet for last week?
What was it?
I was saying that Celtic Real Betis could finish 0-0.
Yes.
And you said if it finishes 0-0 after tonight's show,
you
would take me out to my choice of restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen, is it?
It's just not.
Great game to watch.
Oh,
With all the goals,
fantastic.
all the goals.
Listen, if there's one thing that's an absolute stonewall certainty that hasn't been addressed, Ruffy, and I still think, and I can counter this statement by Ange Postecoglou will, I agree with you, need time to build his side. There are positive elements to his team, but the back line hasn't been addressed.
It's not a solid back four. They've got a goalkeeper, which is a bonus, but the back four, you look at Rangers and you look at how well they did with their back four, and the back four just names itself. It comes in, week out. The Celtic supporters have been watching a back four and not knowing who's going to be in that back four for nearly 2 years now. So the sooner he gets that sorted out and they can move forward, I think we all know what they've got midfield to front, and they will score goals. But if you start conceding, you know, in most of these games, and the Raith Rovers games tonight, if they were to concede tonight again,
Yeah.
you know, it just puts pressure on you all the time.
Yeah, I'm going to go Celtic to win 3-1. If they don't win, I think we're now in for a red hot show tomorrow, Ruffy. Is that fair?
There's no time. There's no time left. You know, I think, you know, Celtic supporters and the team expect to get to finals and semi-finals. This would be a massive blow. I don't give it, you know, that it's not the biggest cup, but it's a cup. And when that cup final comes round, you want to be in it. And Celtic will want to be in that cup. So there's nothing coming out after this game if there's a defeat. It won't wash with anybody, whatever he comes up with.
In fact, I've changed my mind. I think I went yesterday 2-1.
I'm going 3-0.
3-0. Wow, 3-0. Yeah, I said that yesterday to you as well, Tom.
I think, first up, I'll say that we've seen this scenario played out before, where Celtic or Rangers are having a bit of a wobble. They're maybe playing a cup tie like Celtic have got tonight, and you think, oh, you know, there's a wee upset in the cards there. And then they end up, they go out and they win 3-4, 5-0, you know, and it was shooty in. I can't though see it being like that tonight. I think there's a lot of nerves there at Celtic. Complete and utter no-lose situation for Raith Rovers, who are no mugs, as we know as well. That's been watching in their football in the Championship will know that. But I'm going to, I'll do something a wee bit different. I think Celtic after extra time tonight.
Oh.
I think, and then they'll sneak it 1-0 in extra time.
Right, okay. Dundee United against Hibs is good because, you know, Tam McManus says anybody who gets into the last four doesn't want St Johnstone. More often than not, you'd say they don't want Celtic or Rangers, but Dundee United against Hibs is a fantastic opportunity, I think, for, you know, Jack Ross clearly wants to get back at Ruffy and put behind him the misery of last season.
Oh, I think the supporters are still trying to get over it. You know, the defeats in the semi-final, and they'll go there tonight. I think they'll just edge it. Obviously, Dundee United will be encouraged by their derby win. They've got the home advantage. But I just think Hibs have got match winners. They've got people who can, you know, Tam said they were murder in the first half on Saturday, but they've still got players in that team now that can win games for you, and I think that's why they'll just nick it.
And just for the neutral spectator, please get wee Scott Allen on for the start. When you watched him last week, that ball that he put, I was waxing lyrical about that ball that he put in for Paul McGinn for the goal. You know, and he's famous for that, Scott Allen. You know, he must be one of the best passers of a ball in Scotland. But
I was at the game. Nobody could have picked that pass apart from him.
It was, I mean, it was just like he's in step and he just got he almost got a wee bit of dip on it. He just got it weighted perfectly. Absolute thing of beauty, and it's a crying shame that, you know, because they're going to end up in a really good book in Scott Allen about how little football that he actually did play throughout his career for a boy so talented, you know.
Yeah. I don't think he's short of a bob or two though, but to be honest with you, I think knowing him as I do, he just wants to play football, which is great.
He's brilliant to watch.
Here's hoping. He's the type of player that I
agree with Ruffy, by the way, that Dundee United, I think, absolutely buoyed by the derby win, and you know, they're not looking too shabby in the league either. Right just now.
And Nisbet close to signing a new deal, Ruffy. Obviously wants to concentrate on being with Hibs if he gets more money.
No, he's obviously got to sign the new contract because he knows at some stage he's going to move on, and you know the club will get money from him now that if he signs the contract. That is, there will be clubs sniffing about now. He's in the Scotland setup as well, so. No, it's a good move for Hibs.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Hibs to win this one.
So 2-1.
If only because if Scott Allen starts, I'm going for Hibs to win 1-0.
Right, okay.
Right.
And if he doesn't start, 3-1?
5-0 Dundee United. No, I don't.
Right, okay. How are you with what's your view on the banning of betting companies on the front of football shirts?
Is this definitely going to happen?
This is government are going to outlaw gambling firms appearing on the front of football shirts. This will happen later this year.
I'll go back to the wise words of a certain gentleman many moons ago, who, when this argument came up about if you get any football teams alcohol or that, they're going to run out and buy alcohol.
Yeah.
As a wise man once observed, when Celtic and Rangers were sponsored by C.R. Smith, you didn't get kids going out to buy double glazing.
Yes.
Right, so there's a wee argument for that, you know. And
is there an argument for saying that these are, you know, whether it's drink or whether it's gambling, that it can have an acceptable face to kids, though. Is that an argument?
Yeah, but you know what, Peter? It always boils down to money. And when you look at how much money is pumped into football, Scottish football, by a variety of betting companies, whether it's jerseys, whether it's been sponsoring competitions, whatever it may be, it is just widespread. And I think they've got a tough battle in their hands. I'm not convinced. I don't think that if you removed all the betting advertising, I don't think particularly young people who have got access to gambling just about anything via their phones, I don't think it's as if that's going to stop the ones who are already doing it or discourage the people who might do it.
Yeah, no, I'm playing devil's advocate here
so,
because I don't think it stops people. I think the greatest thing that we need when you are looking to try and highlight to people the perils of certain parts of the things that they're going to face in life, Ruffy, I think you need education. I think, as well as people, in school at grassroots level, young kids, as well as them learning the subjects that they're taught, there needs to be a greater emphasis on the education of kids on the perils of gambling, the fallout from that. Life studies is what it's all about, more of it. And I know a lot of teachers and a lot of people say, wait a minute, they get that at school. Well, we're only in a situation now where quite a lot of people are saying there's not enough done to try and highlight to people at a young age, racism, sectarianism, all of the abuse that's towards people in minority groups as well, homophobic people. There's not enough of that campaign. And I know firsthand from the racism campaign, Show Racism the Red Card in Scotland is not as well funded as it should be. So clearly we need, I think there's an education process.
Maybe you need a betting company to sponsor it.
Well, the funny thing is, I know we're being I know you're being flippant and facetious about it, but the point here is quite simply, I think there needs to be an education programme in there. I don't know where it stops. If suddenly, they go, right, you're okay, we'll take the betting off, and Celtic are sponsored by Richmond sausages, are we offending veggies?
Or else you'd say, well, we've got an obesity issue in Scotland, one of the biggest in Europe. Yeah. How can you be sponsored by sausages?
True. It's how you're brought up and what you're taught when you're young.
It was a nice try there, by the way, to get a wee extra sponsor here. So Richmond sausages.
By the way, it's the last thing we need.
But you're right, I think it's how you're brought up and what your parents teach you and what you get at school and everything. But I agree with Tam. The names on the jerseys is nothing to do with the advertising you see on the telly now for gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, the phone.
Yourself, you can't watch.
Phone, get this £10 free bet, this free bet, that free bet.
You can't watch a live game on the telly without at half time. Yeah. First face you see, and it's been the case for maybe 10, 15 years now, Ray Winstone.
Yeah.
First face that you get, bang.
Absolutely. But you know what? And this is, sport and politics do mix when it comes to this. This is a situation where, quite simply, the government is responding to a group of people who have come out with all the insights into it. Now, let me not in any way diminish the dangers of doing something to an extreme, Tam, because gambling can rip people's lives apart and families apart. It's a terrible thing, especially to excess, but will continually blocking certain aspects of it. There's a hypocrisy to it. There is a real hypocrisy to what's going on. To stifle people's ability to get sponsorship in, they're going to have to go to other things. And when they go to other things, someone else will start a group to say, this is not on.
Yeah. I think we need to just try to be sensible about it. And maybe the individual clubs that have taken on board sponsorship for gambling firms, maybe just the clubs themselves could maybe do something for their fans in their community, whatever.
The gambling won't stop when it comes off the shirt, by the way.
No, of course.
It'll still be in the background. But again, I am a firm believer in, with everything, you should get a strong education on the perils of gambling, excess of drinking, you name it, anything that can be addictive. We'll have to look at, we've got many footballers going out and doing some worthy work with people who are addicted to drugs and trying to get them back on the straight and narrow as well.
You get any addictions, Ruffy?
No, I can think
off
of
the top
I
of
can
my
think
head.
of a few, but
Can
that's
think
for
of
a
a
late
good
night
sponsor.
show. Yeah, absolutely. I know you can. So there you have it. You can give us your thoughts on that. The gambling. Is it time to end it? And start to look for other types of sponsorship. We shall wait and see how that government proposal goes through, and see what happens to the clubs who've got deals in place. Okay, a couple of things I want to talk about before we finish. We've talked about the League Cups, which is great. We'll be looking ahead to the weekend as well on tomorrow's programme. Hopefully you can join us for that. League Cup down south, Ruffy. Some big scalps falling. Manchester United out.
Yeah, we spoke about it yesterday. These teams tend to think they can get away with playing a B team and beat whoever they're playing, and a couple of them, or two or three of them, have fall flat in the face because, as we spoke about it yesterday, it's a cup. You know, you want to be there at the end of the day. You should not diminish the cup that you're playing in, because of other cups. Because if you put all your eggs in the one basket and you get knocked out of the Champions League and you get knocked out of this and you're sixth in the league, you've always got to have something to fall back in.
Absolutely.
For the supporters, you should be thinking about your supporters and putting the best team out available. I know some of the managers would say, I did put the best team out available. I don't agree with that.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because obviously the line from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in this, he reckons that this was the perfect opportunity to give some of the fringe players at United the chance to prove they have something to offer.
I think you can see by the team selection that we've always used this competition for when I've been here at the club to give minutes for the ones who need it, because we know it's a very, very long season. I've never actually won this tournament, so that hunt will have to keep going, because it's a trophy that I'd like to have.
Yeah, he backs up what you said there, Ruffy. It's all about levels, so they always give players a run out that are not getting a regular game. But let's be honest about it, Sam. Manchester United have got a cast of thousands.
Absolutely.
Even their second team is good
If
enough.
you want to give these players a run out, you play your top
The first half.
team, right? Aye, and then once you've got the game in the bag, you can bring on some subs and give them a run out then, or you can organise a wee bounce game, or you could do any manner of things. But it's a bit like as we slowly nudge towards the darker nights, and I'm thinking that if you went to see a pantomime, let's use it's maybe not the best analogy, but if you went to see the pantomime and you were there that night, you're expecting to see Elaine C. Smith and Johnny Mack and Jonathan Watson and Gavin Mitchell and whoever it was, and he thought, you know what, they've had a hard run, you know what I mean? Yeah. So for this show we're doing on Friday, we're just going to bring in the stand-ins, you know.
I thought you were going to name them.
Just bring in, and then for all the kids and the mums and dads that go there and they've got their tickets and they've been waiting ages to see this, suddenly they don't recognise a face. It's a complete disregard for your supporters to that. As Ruffy's quite rightly saying, none of these teams now can guarantee they are going to have Champions League success, or they are going to win the league, or they are going to win the FA Cup. And any sort of trophy is it's a joyous thing for fans. Any club, they love going to semi-finals, they love going with their pals to the final, they'd love making a day out of it, making a weekend out or whatever. And it's an absolute smack in the face. I really don't agree with it.
When was the last time Man United won a cup?
Under Jose Mourinho.
Yeah. I mean, that's one reason why you would say, right, let's get back on track, let's give the fans a day out to remember.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I actually think, I think he's an outside out of what I would possibly think about three managers who are favourites for the sack. I mean, Steve Bruce, because unfortunately for Steve Bruce, he's in a club which has got no ambition, with an owner that's just tinkering with it.
Where is he now?
Newcastle.
And how many payoffs has he had in the past 20 years?
I actually think Steve Bruce is a good manager, but I think the problem with him now, he's at a club where they've got the wrong owner, and the fans are just, from one week to the next, having to go through the misery of a club with no ambition. Arteta, out of his depth, and then possibly the Watford manager might be under pressure, but I have Solskjaer on the edge of the fifth favourite, because I'll speak to a lot of United fans, not overly, enamoured by him, and he's a man who got the job without the pedigree of the previous managers. I mean, Mourinho had a good CV, Van Gaal had a good CV, Sir Alex Ferguson had won the Cup Winners' Cup and the league here in Scotland. He was going down there with a strong pedigree.
Yeah, I can know. It's and that's another good reason then, you know, for putting out your strongest team and trying to get a bit of silverware.
Thing as well, there was about 70,000 in that game, wasn't there?
Yeah, incredible.
So they've sent 70,000 fans away depressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one man who wasn't depressed was Davy Moyes, and he's not getting too carried away with beating his old club. Certainly will be a sweet moment. But Stuart Pearce says they're still sticking to their game plan.
Listen, Dave's been around for near enough 1,000 matches, or maybe more than 1,000 games. So he's seen it all, done it all, you know, and he'll take this victory in his stride as he normally does. He'll refocus the squad tomorrow morning to face Leeds at the weekend, and there'll be no complacency. Yes, he's pleased that he's come here and won, I'm sure, but I don't think he'll get washed away with it, because that's not in his makeup in any way.
Well done, Moisey. We love to see Scots, and especially mates, doing well.
That final whistle went, there was a wry smile at that touchline for about 2 or 3 seconds, and he just stood there. I saw it.
Yeah.
You know, once he shook hands, he just stood there and had a wee...
Yeah.
Quite rightly so.
Let him have his moment. Here's the draw for the Carabao Cup in England as well. And incidentally, well, Chelsea, Southampton, Arsenal, Leeds United, so Arsenal could be on a sugary peg there. Stoke City, Brentford, West Ham, Man City. After getting past Man United, you get Man City. Leicester against Brighton, Burnley against Tottenham, Queen's Park Rangers, Sunderland, and Preston against Liverpool. And incidentally, the draw for the Premier Sports Cup will take place after the 2 games are finished tonight between Dundee United, Hibs, and Celtic against Raith Rovers, so we'll be able to talk about that. By the way, quite a lot of people saying, Jeff Grimes, I think, summed it up brilliantly, says Ruffy won't be on tomorrow night after he takes a test this evening. Let me tell you, he won't need to be worrying about any test, because if he is indeed in any way positive, or he's given Tam and I in September weekend the cold, we will just come up like true Lanarkshire boys. I think I speak for you, Tam.
Game of bleaching.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we'll do. We'll give him an absolute tanking. It's as simple as that. But anyway, apart from anything else, just before we go, we started on this, and I must admit, you got me thinking about it. I mean, there are... let's just give me 2, right? And I know I've sprung this on you, and a lot of people will have their own. I want you to give me 1 game that you never got to see that you would love to have been in the crowd for, a football match, right? And then the second thing I would like you to tell me is if I could give you 1 ticket to a concert, to a group that you didn't see that you would love to have seen.
I shockingly turned down a very real chance of a ticket to go and see Frank Sinatra at Ibrox when he famously came there in 1990. No, 1990. It was later.
Oh, it was the last one.
It was later. I had the chance of getting a ticket, and I don't know what happened next, but I didn't. The game that I wasn't at, a very poignant one, Peter, was actually the game at which we lost Phil O'Donnell, Motherwell Dundee United.
Wow.
And I had that norovirus at the time, and it was just one of the moments I'll never forget, because my father-in-law phoned me. I was in my bed, really awful, sickness, all the rest of it, fever and everything. And when I heard my father-in-law's voice on the phone, I thought, right away, I thought, why is he phoning me? He never almost used the phone, you know what I mean? And I can never forget, he just says, did you hear about Phil O'Donnell? And I thought he was going to tell me he'd scored a hat-trick or something. He knew I wasn't at the game, I was in my bed. Yeah. And then he told me the whole story, and it was awful. And I kind of always thought that I was glad I wasn't at that game to witness something like that. Yeah. But see, just there was a kind of feeling that I wish I had been with my pals and all that. You know, just to have been there, and to have been any sort of support as my pals that were there were to each other, because I get calls for them all night, and it's a horrible thing to hear your pals clearly getting choked up and clearly in tears over the phone, you know. So that was one. I've got very mixed feelings on that. Did I want to be there, or am I actually quite relieved that I wasn't and didn't have to witness something as absolutely awful as that, you know? But, yeah.
That's a good one. It's a good call. Ruffy, you've got a concert.
The game first. The game ticket for a game. I'd love to have had a ticket for the World Cup finals in '82, and I'd love to have been in the crowd at the Brazil-Scotland game.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been on the park.
It's a good point.
No, I'm a big
Ruffy.
Killers fan. My modern day group is
Killers?
the Killers. I love the Killers. Missed them at Glasgow Green. Yeah, I think they're magnificent.
Yeah.
I really do.
There's no way he's nearly 70.
Oh, just about to
Years
say,
in him yet. Years in him yet.
When did you bring that out? I've been with you 10 years and I've never known you like the
last
Killers.
3 years, since they came on the surface, I think they had a wee promo on STV it was, and then they just, I mean, that gig down in London that they did was fantastic. So,
Yeah.
Killers for me.
What about yourself, Peter?
And your ticket? Your ticket for a game of
The
you?
game, World Cup final, Brazil 4, Italy 1.
It's a great shout. Yeah, it's a good shout. Jimmy Duff says, don't worry, Tom, you might still get a chance to see Sinatra at a comeback.
Hologram.
Absolutely, I know.
Who's the latest one?
ABBA.
Abba doing it. A Whitney Houston one, I think, is in the process of
Yeah, I
getting
think
done
the
for
ABBA
Vegas.
one will be probably top drawer though, because it's being put together
aye.
by George Lucas.
Oh, goodness, aye. Well,
Maybe add another you on Barbara Streisand.
Yeah,
love to see Barbra
yeah, I'd like
Streisand.
to see Barbra Streisand as well. But if you're talking about games, I'd probably like Istanbul, 2005, 3-3 against
aye.
AC Milan, which would have been absolutely sensational to see the comeback, and the Beatles.
the Beatles, aye, good shout.
Which
good
would have
shout.
been fantastic. Anyway, apart from anything else, lots of people now really liking you, Ruffy, saying, "Oh, Killers, oh, brilliant, oh, Ruffy's really with it, brilliant." So on that note, this is a guy. This is a guy who listens to The Bachelors, and now all of a sudden it's the Killers.
I actually, just when I was sure, I actually went to see 2 nights before Thistle won the League Cup in '71.
You went to see the Killers?
No, on the Thursday night, I went to see The Who
Oh, brilliant.
in Apollo.
Is that right?
Fantastic.
Have you still got the ticket stub?
No, I'm
Honestly, you're nothing.
Need to
Nothing.
keep things like that.
Honestly, are you a hoarder?
A wee bit, aye.
Yeah, same
aye.
here.
You don't
Absolutely.
want to keep ticket stubs. You never know what tickets they might find here. When they go to the cleaners.
Tom,
A live theatre
Tom.
show in Amsterdam, what are you talking about?
where are you going with that? You just as you
I've heard a
he
few
was getting out
stories.
of the show without any
Not
trouble.
me personally, I've heard,
Yeah.
I've heard some people.
Genuinely, we didn't shift my mum's kitchen table last week, incidentally, didn't we go? But that reminded me of that. One of the best responses I ever got to anything that I'd put on my Instagram page was when I did have the first clear out at my mum's, and in one of my drawers in my old room, I found all these old tickets, and I just put them all together like a collage.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
It's a great,
I've
yeah,
not
it's
used
a
that
great
since
thing.
primary
I'm
school.
going to do that as
And
well,
I just videoed it and I stuck it up there, and folk were making their own comments. Oh, I was at that gig. Oh, I was at, only £3 to see them, and it was all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So you shouldn't. Don't throw away your old
Don't
tickets.
throw away your old tickets. Unbelievable, by the way. Some great ticket stubs. Does anybody get great ticket stubs of games that they were at that they still cherish, or indeed
Saved
concerts?
me once getting a kicking for Tommy McLean. Here's a true story. Keeping
Yeah.
your ticket stubs. Aye, it wasn't long after I'd started with the Evening Times. So the early 90s, and post winning the cup and that, we did a wee dodgy couple of years at the club. So me as a supporter, I had kind of been critical of my own team, shall we say, and they got a call at the Evening Times at the sports desk for wee Tommy. Wanting to speak to this guy, Tam Cowan,
right.
you know, and now wee Tommy, as later I realised, he thought, well, this is a Glasgow Evening Times, Glasgow paper, he'll be a Celtic or a Rangers fan, why is he having a go at us, you know? But then I went up to the office, I mind putting a wee collar and tie on, I went up to meet him at Fir Park, and what I took with me, which was the clincher, and then he just camped down after that, I always kept my old season ticket stubs, which I'd had my first one in 1979. So I had them all the way through up into the early 90s. I says, Tommy, I was sitting there and his face was peeling, you can picture him, right? And just before he launched into me, what the fuck, who used to say that, you know? I says, Tommy, I'm a die-hard Motherwell fan. There's all my past season books. And just kind of the air went out of him a wee bit.
Yeah.
And he camped down and he said, right, and he started actually explaining to me some of the issues he had, why the team wasn't maybe playing as well as it should have been, having won the cup a couple of years earlier. And we left in good terms, and we were on good terms from then onwards.
I will bring my ticket stubs in that I gave my dad, who kept them in a box. And
So you have them?
He collected them. No, not for shows. This is for games.
Yeah, but
No, I
that's
thought
what
you
I was
meant
talking
games.
about.
No, I thought you meant games.
Have
No,
you
I'll
got
bring a
ticket
box
stubs?
in.
Bring them
You
in.
will be amazed.
Bring them
at
in,
some
by
of
the way,
the stubs he
because
kept.
that's good. Everybody loves to keep a ticket for fantastic games or concerts they've been to. Listen, thoroughly enjoyed it. Great banter, good chat. talk about football. Lots of people messaging us talking about Tommy Adams says he's got all his Clatty Pats tickets. Oh, Tommy, you've just won it, hands down with that line. Join us tomorrow if you can. We'll reflect on the 2 games in the Premier Sports Cup quarterfinals tonight, and we'll also discuss the draw in detail and look ahead to Saturday and Sunday's Premiership games in Scotland and all the other burning issues across UK football, maybe even European and world football. It's a football show after all. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Hopefully you'll stick with us. There's lots more occasions when we'll be giving away prizes. Next week's especially a chance for you to win another prize. But from Tam Cowan, from Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, thank you to you for watching.